Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this part of this series, I'm going to be talking about some strengths and weaknesses that are common for the anxious preoccupied attachment style individual in the workplace specifically. So before I dive in, I just wanted to start by saying happy Pride Month to everybody, and very excited to do a bit of a series here. We're going to talk all about the different attachment styles and like some of the different patterns they have in the workplace specifically. And what this can help you do is sort of recognize some of the likely strengths and weaknesses you have. Remember, it's not necessarily always one size fits all, but of course there tends to be really, really strong and prominent patterns for each attachment style and the way that they have these subconscious programs that they bring into every single one of the 7 areas of their lives. So what we tend to see for anxious preoccupied attachment styles specifically is number one, we tend to see anxious preoccupied individuals tend to be very sensitive to others, people's feelings and needs in the workplace. They often value teamwork. They tend to feel like their needs buckets are getting filled by being around people in some form. They tend to be quite encouraging of other people, very aware of how other people are feeling as a whole, very sensitive to different potential conflicts, very cooperative with others. Often make people feel very seen and heard, work well in sort of group assignments, group tasks. They tend to be respectful, thoughtful, inclusive, self-reflective, helpful, and quite supportive. And as a general rule, APs tend to do well like working in teams. And anxious preoccupied individuals as well, some of their downsides or weaknesses essentially, or I guess we could say challenges that they may tend to face, are that even though they can be so considerate, charming, caring, open, sometimes they can do that at the detriment of the relationship to themselves and their own work. So sometimes one of the challenges we'll see anxious preoccupied individuals face is that they can people please to the point of like not being able to get their own work done or taking on too much for others, and not being able to set very good boundaries in the workplace. And this may even fester as things like gossip or resentment long term if the anxious preoccupied individual doesn't feel safe or comfortable learning to express their needs at work. And I've actually seen many clients over time who were anxiously attached. And what I would see as a fairly common pattern for APs is that they would get into a situation in the workplace where they wouldn't say no to about stuff. And they would take on and help so many people around them, which is really great and can be very helpful at work. But then they would feel like they just fall behind on their own work. And this would be this common theme and pattern to the point where they would even like get in trouble at work, get reprimanded, but not change the pattern. And this is where when they would come to me and tell me these things, I'd be like, okay, we have to do subconscious reprogramming on people pleasing, the fear of setting boundaries, the fear of saying no in the workplace, because we may see, this actually APs would share things with me like all their, coworkers got promoted over the years and they stayed in the same role and how frustrating that was. So it's important to really recognize some of these patterns that may be coming about. Another big thing is APs can, as one of their challenges, can struggle with getting involved in like workplace politics sometimes. And again, it's because they have such a need for like connection, approval, care, and feeling like they're sort of, that they're fitting in, that they're included, that they're, sort of in that like status, space in the center of, not center of attention of the workplace, but just feeling like they're like included in everything, have that really strong social component that they're often looking for at work. And sometimes as a means of getting that, they'll gossip or they'll get too involved in those sorts of things, again, sort of to the detriment of their work at times. And sometimes APs may find themselves not really speaking up for their own needs at work, and also can be so focused on being disapproved of and fear disapproval at times that it can manifest in the forms of like self-doubt, feeling afraid of like really just communicating where they're coming from, and like really feeling strong and empowered to set a boundary as a whole. So we'll see a lot of these patterns that tend to be quite intense. And obviously the core wounds we'll tend to see most often are the fear of being rejected, not being good enough, fear of being disliked or excluded, fear of being seen as bad in the workplace, and the fear of abandonment that will often take place in the form of like, oh, I'll be fired. Like I will be left out, sort of hung out to dry, like abandoned, separated, kicked out, like all these forms of that, or being left behind. But as a general rule, and by the way, if you want to do a deep dive before I share a couple other things, If you want to do a deep dive into this, we have our attachment styles in the workplace with all the strengths, weaknesses, how they handle conflict, reprogramming tools, basically everything you need to know, the needs, everything you need to know in a lot of depth that you can check out for free for 7 days. In the description box below, you can click on that, and literally it's the whole entire attachment styles in the workplace course. So a lot of stuff in there that goes into a lot of detail. But basically, one of the big things that you'll see overall is that APs can be great leaders. They can work well in teams. They can be very uplifting to other individuals, and they're really good at like creating cohesion between other people, not just including themselves, but also creating cohesion between multiple parties in the workplace, which is really nice. And they tend to make people feel really welcomed, comfortable. They tend to be good at sharing, and they may struggle if they're feeling isolated, right? If they're feeling sort of like not even just excluded, but if they have to do isolating work, like work by themselves. So those are some of the key points. If you want to take a deeper dive, you can absolutely check in with the attachment styles in the workplace course. We go through in there like how to handle conflict, the needs, decision-making, what motivates them, how to communicate, what triggers them about others, where they can struggle managing their time, like a whole bunch of things beyond just strengths and weaknesses. And then of course you have also access to all the other things that we have inside PDS by using the 7-day free trial below. So I hope this makes sense for today. Happy Pride Month again. Thank you so much for being here and for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video.